Today on Rolling With It, I've got Lulu Stone, who is a model. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah, it's been a good start to the year, I feel like.
I love your background. For people that
Thank
can't
you.
see, Lulu has got a field of grass as her Zoom background.
Yeah, I had another Zoom call and my setup was really messy in the background, so I just put this
That's a very smart
and I feel like
move.
this is more interesting than like just my plain white wood chip wall. So I'm leaving it on. It wasn't intentional,
To
but
be
it's just gonna
fair,
stay
I've
there.
never really thought about that, using a green screen to cover up the mess. I like it. How have you been finding lockdown? How's it been for you?
Well, I think the various different stages have been pretty different.
Yeah.
And like our lockdown now, I'm much more, yeah, I'm working, I'm getting out of the house more. I think at first, like, God, when did we first go into lockdown? Like
Literally like a
April,
year
March,
ago. It's
March,
almost been a year ago. I can't believe it. It's been like,
I know this year has been absolute madness. So yeah, that lockdown was like, whoa.
yeah.
What's going on?
Hold up a minute, honestly.
It was just so new to all of us. Like none of us really knew what was gonna happen. It just felt like very end of the world, apocalyptic, kind of like what is our future.
Yeah.
But now it's, I don't know, I feel like we're all kind of used to it a little bit, much more same with it.
Yeah, I feel like it has actually taken, it's mad to think it's taken a year to kind of get used to it all. Because, but as you said, like at the beginning, it was like, this is literally the end of the world. Like you couldn't imagine it lasting for more than like 3 weeks. Like I literally thought it was going to be 3 weeks we were in lockdown. And now we're literally coming up to a year so quickly and we still don't know what's happening. Like, how is that a thing?
It's worse than ever.
So the whole kind of conversation in the podcast is about how creatives are dealing with it and how their industries have been affected. So I'm guessing the modeling industry has been pretty like taking a big hit from COVID.
At first, yes. Like obviously, like no one was allowed to kind of leave the house, so it was all very much no shoots were happening. I didn't go back to the studio until May. So I was back shooting in the studio in May, but from that time, from like March, April, and yeah, for the most of May, it was pretty much dead. So basically, how agencies kind of adapted was that they kind of got girls to, or just models in general, anybody on their boards, they got people to set up studios in their houses basically, and just get some camera equipment, get lighting equipment, get any sort of like space that you could actually shoot in, and then the clients would then send the products to the models so that they could shoot at home. So that was the big way in how it's changed, and clients are still doing that. Like I've got a job next week and it's for a TV advert and we're shooting it in our own home sort of thing.
Wow.
That would never be anything like that I would have ever expected before. But yeah, so it's all kind of like adapting and changing. But in terms of like e-commerce, like it's booming, people are online shopping more than ever. So in that sense, it's picked up in that area, definitely.
Yeah, I've definitely realized more models like self-shooting at home. And I feel like in the first lockdown, it seemed very like FaceTime shoots, but I feel like it's advanced so much since then. Like everything seems to be like model self-shooting with like good equipment and stuff like that. But I remember the first lockdown, ASOS, I remember scrolling through and there were just pictures of the clothes. There was no models whatsoever for like quite a while.
Yeah, it was so weird to like, because you're just so used to seeing everything on models and just like everything being flat lay or just like on mannequins. It was just like, whoa.
What jobs have you been doing like recently, or have you had anything that you didn't think would actually happen, like really big opportunities?
Well, I guess this TV commercial, I didn't think that shooting as many TVCs, like big productions and like kind of international things would be happening as much anymore. Definitely not for the foreseeable future, because getting all teams together from wherever, it was just super difficult for people to travel, obviously. So in that sense, getting everybody to shoot themselves, it's allowed me to do a TVC, which has been really good. But yeah, I think lots of companies, UK based companies anyway, have just focused on keeping their talent UK based as well. So instead of people flying others from, I don't know, from the States or other parts of Europe, obviously they haven't had that option anymore. They've just kind of stuck to teams more local, which has kind of benefited for the models that are already based in London. Obviously that excludes us from going and traveling doing ourselves, but
it is benefiting people. Maybe the people that they wouldn't usually think to use, they're now using those models, or like I'm guessing lots of people have been signed as well recently.
I'm seeing it more now, but I know like at the beginning of lockdown, or more to like in the summertime, agencies were kind of trimming their boards down a lot, just so that they could focus on keeping talent that were like working and stuff, and not really like focusing on what they had and not expanding anymore. But I know now that I've seen agencies like actively doing castings and wanting to bring on new talent, because they've adapted now to kind of how things are. Scouting on Instagram and stuff as well
seen so much of that.
So you can't walk into the agencies anymore like you used to. So it's
such a sad story. I remember like 2 years ago, I was like 16, and I was like, I want to be a model. I had this thing come over me. I was like, I just want to be a model. So I must have walked into like 6 modeling. Like I took myself to London. I was like, Mum, I'm going to London. I took myself up to London. I walked into like 6 different agencies, and obviously they were just like, no. Do you think that a lot of people feel like they could get into the modeling industry and they kind of feel like it's really easy? Is it quite a tough job?
It's a tough job. The side that people see is often the side that models put out as like the glamorous side. You don't put like the really long like days of ecom where you're just kind of in and out, stupid amount of outfits a day, like in heels. It is tough, and on your mental health as well. I think especially for people that start a bit younger, you have to develop thick skin quite quickly. You have to face a lot of rejection, and I think if you're not as sure of yourself, and you don't let other people's criticism, or not necessarily criticism of you, it's just you're not right for them, but if you take that personally, then that could get really damaging. And I know like a lot of models have struggled with depression and anxiety issues. But I think now companies and agencies are trying to be more inclusive and putting less pressure on girls, I think, and they're encouraging people to be themselves more and to not have to fit into a mold to be accepted, which is positive.
Have you ever faced a situation where somebody's maybe been jealous of how you look, or jealous of your job, or any negative situations like that where you've just thought, why is this happening? Like any nasty comments? Do you ever get like trolls? Because you've got quite a few followers on Instagram, so do you ever get people messaging you?
I rarely get trolls, actually. I think I've been very lucky in that. I guess like some, like my friends from back home, I'm still like, they're probably my core group of friends, and I've known them all my life. So I think sometimes the kind of teasing or like the taking the piss will kind of come from that, because they just kind of see that I'm traveling a lot, and the job pays well, so they kind of see that side of it, and just like, oh, it's easy, blah, blah, blah. But I never really gotten any like jealousy or trolls, luckily, touch wood.
I feel like friends always like, they love to have that little like give you a bit of stick. No matter what anyone's doing, it's always going to be like that inside joke where they're like, oh yeah, look at you doing this, and you're like, all right, okay. I'm actually really interested to know, what is the most like amazing job you've had? What's your favorite ever shoot you've done, or like brand you've worked with?
Oh my gosh. So I think the job that I've been most excited about doing, it was for Aerie. I did an Aerie campaign, and it was I flew out on my birthday. It was the first, no, not my first birthday spent away from home, but it was the first birthday I hadn't been with my family. So I was kind of on my own, but it was like, Aerie's always been a massive dream client of mine. Like I've loved everything that they stand for, and have done ever since I kind of got into modeling. So yeah, shooting that campaign, it was in Wyoming.
Loads of horses.
We went horse riding.
Oh my god, I'm so glad I was right. I was thinking,
I was like,
horses there. This is gonna be so embarrassing.
No, so we went to a horse ranch, and like we shot in this like cowboy town, and it was like the bar was like, had all these saddles, and it was so American. And
Yeah.
I hadn't really been in the States that much, so like going there and seeing like real life cowboys, I was like, wow, this is mad. But yeah, and it was an incredible shoot. Like it's an absolutely breathtaking place. Like we've got these boats out to these islands. I saw a baby bear cub that we were
Wow.
shooting, and
Cute.
like just like in the super super still water with like this backdrop of amazing mountains with snow on it and everything.
Wow.
And then yeah, just like see this little baby bear cub like crawling up and like just walking up this hill just randomly, and I was just like,
No.
this is
You love and
we were just
life.
yeah, exactly, we were just like completely surrounded by nature, like shooting in the national park, and the whole team was lovely. I'd shot with them before as well, but this was like a kind of a bigger campaign, so it was just yeah, it was a dream job. Really really lucky to have done it, for sure.
That sounds unreal. I guess like a huge part of like either modeling or like presenting or being like in the entertainment industry is being a good person and likable and like being able to work well with teams. Otherwise it's just not gonna work out.
Yeah, no, I've been on jobs before where you can just tell like that so like somebody doesn't want to be there, and it really does kind of, because you know we're all in it together, like yeah, okay, it's long hours, and you know it might be super hot or super cold, but like we were on a beach in Cape Town, and
Yeah.
it was like there are so many things to be worrying about right now, like
Yeah.
don't, you know, yeah, I think having a good vibe about you, and like just genuinely enjoying the job, because you know you just kind of all vibrate off of each other, and if you're all there having a good time, like it can feel like a holiday. But yeah, you just kind of put the long hours kind of behind you, and just like we're just all getting on here, everybody's like everyone's super lovely, and yeah, you just kind of get on with it and get through it together.
Especially if it's like, as you were saying, like a beach in Cape Town, like you couldn't
Yeah.
not wanting to be there. Like I've heard some real horror stories about people just being so difficult to work with, and it's like such a shame to hear, because you know there's so many people out there that would be loving to do that. It's like, why are you ruining it for yourself and everybody else? But what would you say at the moment, coming back to like the COVID thing, what would you say the whole process of a casting is? So like your agency puts you forward for something, and then where does it go from there? Would you say like COVID testing, and is it a lot more tedious than it usually would be?
Yeah, I feel like, well, in a way, because people aren't really doing in-person castings anymore, it's just kind of all, they'll just kind of send Polaroids and maybe you'll do like a casting tape. But I kind of much prefer it that way than like, you know, you have to book the day off to go to a casting and go in person. I feel like, yeah, now you can just kind of send a video, and that's all that's kind of required. Or like I've had a few Zoom castings I'm not a fan of, actually, because it's kind of hard to, like when you're in a casting room, you can kind of read the room with a bit of it, you have a vibe for it. But especially if there's like connection problems, or like, because I'm always just doing it on my phone, like it's just, I can just kind of see people on a little screen, and then if it's more than a certain amount of people, I have to like swipe through to see people. And you can't, I don't know, sometimes the connection isn't quite there. So that's what I do miss about in-person castings. But aside from that, like, yeah, I think at first, for bigger jobs, people are doing COVID tests on arrival now. So if you're booked on a job, sometimes you'll have to do it a couple of days before. But now that it's kind of more common, you can get the COVID tests on set. So you just get there 15 minutes early, get tested. If you don't have it, then yeah, you can kind of get on with your day.
What's like a normal casting like? Is it like really busy, chaotic?
Castings can vary so much. There are open castings where just kind of all agencies get sent a brief, and it's just like, just send whoever you think is suitable, sort of thing. And those are the castings that, yeah, they'll just be like queues for. This kind of happens for hair shows, I've noticed, hair jobs and fashion week. Those are the castings that are always like super, they're very long, loads of different people are there, and it can be like quite a chunk of, yeah, time waiting about. But then you have your direct castings, which is the client has seen you previously, just to kind of they'll have seen all your photos and everything and kind of have a vibe, but they just want to kind of meet you to see whether or not your vibe fits with them and like how you actually come across as a person as well. So yeah, that when it's a direct casting, it's a lot better organized. You're kind of in and out in, I don't know, 5-10 minutes maybe, depending on how many like outfits you try on, if you even try on anything. They just vary so much. And then you can have like acting ones where you might be given a script beforehand, like the day before, or you might not, and you might just turn up on the day and then you gotta like learn the script in 5 minutes before you go into the casting.
Not ideal.
But you wing it and you just go with it because everyone's in the same boat. So
exactly. When I think of a casting, I think of like those Victoria's Secret videos where like all the girls are like, there's like thousands of them like lining up in this like big warehouse or whatever, and they're all like strutting around. It looks so intimidating. Like that's what I see. Or like an X Factor when they're all like queuing outside. Like that's what I imagine casting's like.
Yeah, I haven't really been to a big casting like that in a while. I think that people have just kind of stopped casting like that as much anyway. But I think for fashion week and for like fashion shows, I think that style of casting is still but will fashion shows be a thing of the past now with COVID? I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be as much of a thing anymore. So
House of Sunny just did one on like their live Instagram. I think it was at 6. Like loads of different brands I've seen are doing their like autumn winter collection just on Instagram live. And like everyone's been promoting it and you can just watch it on your phone.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's mental. And I think the industry was kind of making that shift to like digital technology anyway. But COVID has just, I think, pushed it forward a bit quicker, really. Instagram and social media is just so accessible for everybody as well. Whereas I think fashion shows it had that kind of exclusivity around it, and obviously like that it shoots yourself in the foot from a marketing point of view. Like if you want to include everybody and let everybody be a part of your brand. So
as you're saying, it's becoming a lot more inclusive, like agencies kind of looking after their talent more, and like brands like letting people see their new collections, like stuff. Social media is definitely allowing that to happen, which is good, I guess. It's breaking the tradition, which is always good. So with modeling, is it something you always want to do, or is there anything else you'd want to branch into? Like, do you have any other passions or hobbies?
Well, I studied music at university, so that's always been a massive passion, hobby of mine. But it's kind of hard. It has been hard to pursue alongside modeling, because you need to kind of commit to one or the other, really. To kind of make it work alongside hasn't really been possible. But I'm just enjoying modeling at the moment. I just want to travel with it, and just I'll think about afterwards.
Think about the music. How did you get into modeling as well? Like, what was do you remember like your first shoot?
I remember my first job was for, do you know Lethal Bizzle? And he had that clothing line, Dent Clothing.
Were you
Dance? That was my first job.
Wow.
Which I was very gassed about, because I'm like from East London. And like all my friends were like, oh, Lethal Bizzle. I was like, Lethal Bizzle. Oh, it was so gassed. But I got into it while I was at uni.
Okay.
There was a girl. So I was in the creative arts building, and the girl was studying fashion, and she asked me to do her her graduate collection, shoot it. I was like, yeah, sure, fine. I hadn't really given it much thought before. I didn't really think modeling could be a career. I thought model, and I thought like, oh, Liam Campbell, Kate Moss. I didn't really know that there was an in between. Like, I was never really been into fashion or like into beauty or anything like that. So I was just been like, I didn't really know of it as an option. But then I did the shoot, and I was like, this is really fun. And I really enjoyed it. So I don't know if you I don't even know if it's a thing anymore, but there was a website called Model Mayhem.
No, ring a bell.
Which is like, it's like a platform for freelancers, basically. And she was just like, oh, you should join this Model Mayhem, like if you wanted to do it more, then you can then there are loads of opportunities that you can like have shoots with other people and see whether it is something that you actually want to maybe take a bit further. So I signed up, did a few shoots, and then I shot for this it was like a vintage store in Manchester, and the two sisters who owned the shop, who I shot with and kind of kept in touch afterwards, they started their modeling agency. Okay. And they were like, oh, we like shooting with you before, let us know if you're like looking for representation, we'd love to have you on board as one of our like new models. And at the time I was just like, yeah, sure, why not, like I was still at uni, I just thought might as well just go for it, see what comes of it.
So I signed with them, and then I was moving back to London, and they got me signed in London. So I just kind of went from there really. I just like, hey, I'm going to go back home now. And they're like, oh, join this agency, and
wow,
working with them a little bit.
Just snowballed then, I guess.
I was just super lucky because I was coming out of uni like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do. It kind of allowed me to go with it.
I guess stuff's always destined for you. I'm such like a believer in that, like everything happens for a reason, like everything, I feel like your life to a certain extent is quite mapped out, so I guess it was always going to happen. And now here you are today, smashing it. Honestly, I see you everywhere. Like when I go on like Pretty Little Thing, there you are. Like I can't explain to you. I'm like, there she is. She's everywhere. Like there, like again, it's mad. And something I like to ask my guest at the end of every episode is what advice you would give to somebody wanting to get into modeling.
Stay true to yourself. Don't get lost in it. And if you want to do it, just keep pursuing it. It's hard work will always work.
That's good advice. Always stay true to yourself. Thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been so lovely to catch up.
Thank you very much for having me.